please welcome our comrade from Climate Action.
I want to start by bringing greetings to every Palestinian protester from the Campaign Against Climate Change and the Coalition for Climate Justice. And I want to emphasise a very important point that the previous two speakers have made. We have to fight for a sustainable future. We have to fight for a world free of fossil fuel capitalism, but that will never happen while there is genocide going on. That will never happen without freedom and liberation for the people of Palestine. And if you want to understand why this is an issue for climate campaigners as well as for anti-war and Palestinian activists, think about the state of Israel. Why does it exist? It exists so that the colonial powers and the imperialist countries can have a little foothold in the Middle East to control those resources, to control that oil, to control that part of the region. That was why in 1948 Israel was set up, and that is why if we want freedom from the fossil fuel corporations that hold a stranglehold on our environment, we have to shatter the chains of imperialism around the people of the Middle East. We have to shatter the chains of bondage that are holding our sisters and brother prisoner in Gaza, on the West Bank and across the Middle East. But it is a tragedy that the solution for climate change is becoming trapped by those same imperialist interests. Look at COP29. Look where it's taking place in Azerbaijan, one of the biggest places, one of the central places for fossil fuel capital, one of the birthplaces of fossil fuel capitalism, one of the places that companies like BP and Shell were born to exploit. And look at what's happening inside the chambers in those debating halls. Look at the fossil fuel delegates, those men and women sponsored by the oil and gas and coal companies to go into COP29 and insidiously spread their lies that there can be a sustainable future while we burn oil and gas. And those are lies, because there is no future where we don't just stop oil. There isn't no future when we don't leave the oil, the gas and the coal in the ground. And look how the global right is using this now. Look at what Trump is saying around climate change. Look at how his far-right politics of denial insidiously undermining activism on climate change. Look at the way his friends in Argentina have pulled out their delegates from the talks in COP29 because they don't care about what's happening to the people and to the planet. They only care about how burning oil can make them profits and make them money. And let's also point the finger at blame at some other people, at those people on the liberal left who say that they can make a difference. The politicians like Starmer, who now go to Baku and say, we're going to solve it. We're going to take up the mantle now that America has gone to Trump. And yet the solutions Starmer offers aren't about leaving the oil in the ground. The solutions Starmer offers are allowing fossil fuel corporations to carry on, allowing them to continue burning what they want to do, and offering some platitudes that say maybe in 10 years' time we'll have reduced emissions. Well, it's not enough. We have to stop the frackers now. We have to stop the oil companies now. We have to stop the gas and the coal being pulled out of the ground. And we have to say to the women and men who work in those industries, we're going to reuse your skills to build a sustainable future. We're going to shut down that industry and we're going to build another one that is run on the basis of ordinary people. Because if we don't, it's going to be horrible. It's horrible enough now. 1 million women and men and refugees in South Sudan fleeing floods. Millions of people in countries like Mozambique, across South America, across the global south, suffering from unprecedented lower temperatures that they have to live and work in. This will be genocide on a global scale unless we stop the fossil fuel tycoons and the fossil fuel barons. And that means the climate justice movement and the Palestinian movement and the anti-war movement and the trade union movement and the socialist movement, we have to think, what do we do? Because actually we have to say these are linked. These are all linked together. When climate change forces people to leave their homes, are those refugees going to be met with solidarity and friendship, or are they going to be met with barbed wire and guns? Well, I'm on the side that says we should meet them and welcome those refugees fleeing climate change, not allow them to be left to drown in the Mediterranean. When the far right use climate denial to try and spread their lies and hatred, are we going to meet them on the streets as Palestinian activists and anti-war activists and climate justice activists and say no to your lies? We're not going to let you march in our towns and cities. We're not going to let you spread your hate. That's what the future and that's what unity means. And if you want some hope, look at Valencia. That terrible tragedy caused by people and politicians putting profit before people. And what did the people of Valencia do in the Spanish state? They didn't sit and say, we're going to sign a petition and hope that someone like Starmer comes along. No, they took to the streets and they tried to break down the doors of the town halls and break down the doors of the police station and put the blame where it lies, at those politicians who don't care about ordinary people and only care about dollar signs. And finally, I want to remind you of the real history of Baku and Azerbaijan, because we often think about it as being about oil and coal and gas. But in Baku in 1920, the radical revolutionary anti-colonial left called the Congress of the People of the East, and 2,000 delegates from the whole of the global South, from Korea and Japan and India and China and the Middle East, came together and they extended the hand of friendship to the global North, and they say, we're going to overthrow capitalism, we're going to overthrow colonialism and imperialism, and we want to stand united with you against our common enemies. Comrades, today we still face the common enemies, the fossil fuel barons and their politicians in the White House and in number 10 Downing Street. And we're going to unite as Palestinians and climate activists, as anti-war people, as trade unionists, socialists and people on the left, and say no more. People before profit, system change, not climate change.